Okay, various bits and pieces been going on whilst you've been away. Needless to say, the mess is one of them. The canopy, it's a real nightmare fit. It's a complete mess at the moment. This is the proper tinted one, but it's PVA glue and should clear up okay. So what I've actually got on the go here at the moment, I've managed to sit it in front and rear. That said, it's popped out of the front again. It's about the 10th time it's done that. And what I've done is got a little bit of sprue acting as a spacer just to hold it at the right width apart, because otherwise it wants to scoot in. The resin itself isn't as strong. It's not a brittle resin, it's quite a soft resin. So I think that's some of the problem with that. And what I'm going to have to do is probably clamp the front of this down. Something like this. I'll put a clamp to the rear to hold the rear down as well. Something like that, and then balance that somewhere precariously. Okay, other bits we've got going. The actual wing pylon for the fuel tank, we've put in the sway braces on the side. They're the two little ones, and painted them silver, so that's all ready to go. So they're still a little bit wet, but just as a test bit, you've got one hole towards the rear, which you usually think is a little bit on the small side. So what we'll do, we just open that up a tiny bit. So we just pop the and then these should find and hopefully push fit in, which are a little bit tight, but they'll go just in like that. And then we can mount them up. Then what we'll do, we'll get those all mounted up towards the end for when we actually sort of come together and bring all the bits on. The other thing as well I've done is just literally touched in and did a little bit more spray weight to these engines nozzles at the back. So what we've done is they're the same colour as the outer edges around the engine nozzles themselves. Obviously another form of making it more radar and visible. So the thing is, if you are done it like we have, which is quite a light on the outer surfaces, for the new one you want to do it light at the rear. If you're going to go with it obviously a more weathered look and have a darker nose and leading edges and things, then you want to make it more darker. But basically we've got flat black over the top of the metal grey at the back, just to sort of dull it down all a bit, and we've got them on. So there's your nozzles all in there fixed just like that. We've just popped around with a little bit of black paint around the canopy, where we've got a little bit of overspray got in underneath. I don't mind overspray coming through because it gives it that sort of bleached effect, which I actually quite like. So that's those bits which were taking time consuming to do, but they're done now. So in a minute what we can actually do is get the gear doors fixed on. So that would just be straightforward job. A little bit of CA glue and we can tack these in place quite easily. Just like that. We can get them in, get them sorted out, and what we're actually going to do is going to give it a flat coat all over with the gear and the bits on. We can do a little bit more weather into it, and then we can get the armament fitted on, the weapon bay doors. Hopefully we can clean up the canopy and get that all sorted and really bring it all together. Okay, so as you might see just over here, we've got a lineup of missiles. So actually what we've done, we've used the Sidewinder X and the AIM-120 AMRAAM Cs to give it a full bay. Now obviously you could put in the JDAM, you get two JDAMs as well, and you can have different types of sidewinders, and obviously you've got the latest sidewinder is the X, which is the small one with a variable nozzle at the rear, versus the Michael the Lima type, which has got the big fins at the front. So you can really jostle around and put in what you want into this. Now for spraying weapons, literally I use light ghost grey, anybody's at all. And I do tend to find with weapon spraying, I tend to spray them neat, and I know this goes against all the rules of spraying and all the rest of it, but it sticks, it goes down in one pass, and that's it. Nice high air pressure, about 30 psi, and obviously you can hold it at the nose because the nose cone is going to be a different colour to the rest of it, but you can just make sure you get the back of it as well, just down like that, and we can dry off, and then very rapidly within a few minutes that'll be dry and ready for painting. And then for painting wise, as I did, put that out of the way over there, as I did with these, we've just got some normal black and we've just done the fins with them just like that, and the same with the sidewinders as well. Pick one up. We've done the front half up until the actual warhead area, and then the back. Then obviously there's some fantastic decals that go on these which come with the kit to really sort of bring them to life and detail them up. So we just pop the lid on this. The other thing we've been doing We've actually fixed together the fuel tanks with the pylon. I've done them there, and then what happens is I'm just going to make the diameter of the hole on the bottom of the wing just about these, so they'll actually be a push fit. That way, if you do get knocked in transit or something like that, they'll fall straight off. Now these are very shiny at the moment, as you can probably see, but what we're going to do, we're going to affix this to the actual underside of the wings and spray the entire thing with the flat coat, and then we can pop them back off for giving it the next little bit of weathering as we're going to do. So that's those done like that. The other thing I've actually done here, which I'll show you about here, we've got the weapons bay fitted in. So obviously we've got the shoulder weapons bay, which will obviously house the Sidewinder short range missile, and then we've got the main internal bay underneath here, and we've got one of the doors. Now it's a funny fit, because what actually happens if you look down the front of it, I put my hand behind so you can get a bit of contrast. You can see the door actually forms like a number 7. If I hold it upside down, you can probably see it a little bit better. But it actually forms a number 7 system like that. So to get it to actually concave to that sort of effect, it's pretty straightforward. We've put in the activator arms, which act to prop it up a little bit, but the little location lugs down here, they click in to these bottom ones. Now this side, to be honest, are a little bit tighter than the other side, but they will, with a little bit of wiggling, allow this to fit in. So we just take this Sidewinder rail out because it's only fitting, but these here are a little bit, if I'm honest, they're a little bit close to the edge, because obviously that bay does move around. So what I'm going to do is just put my fingernail down just to open them up a little bit, and I've lost one, admittedly it's already fallen off during the attempt. So actually what we'll do, we'll try and get these in now, and they line up with the little grooves underneath. So it's pretty straightforward, it's just a question of getting them to go in. But when they go in, it sits just like that. Then what I did, and it's a two-handed sort of fiddly job, I put a couple of drops of super glue, very, very tiny amount on the edge, and then tacked in this top one. And there again, there's little teeth on it, which go into little grooves, which give you the number 7. And then afterwards, I literally just went around and with a little bit of extra thin, and just let it capillary action hit and run its way around, and then locked it in position. And then this one on this side's been on for about half an hour now, and it's pretty firm and tough, so we're quite happy that that one's in position. And then the activator arms you can just put into place, and then like me, I'm going to have to touch them in with a little bit of white paint just to put them in, so we can get those on the go like that. As soon as we've got those on, we're going to open up these wing tank holes as we were saying, and we're going to fix these in, and then we're going to give the entire thing a flat coat. And this is really to knock it back, and then also we're going to come along with a little bit more weathering, a bit more wash, put it on, and it'll grip because it'll get stuck in the texture of the paint, of the surface of the paint, and give us a nice weathered effect. Okay, so here we are, we're almost done. We've just got a few things to go on. Now, if you are happy with the weathering as it is at the moment, which to be honest is a very nice, clean, pristine finish, we've got everything we wanted to do. We've got the metallic effect, we've got the combat markings, we've got a weathering wash on there. You'd be absolutely fine. And I suppose if you were looking for a sort of rolled out pristine finish, then this is where you would stop now and you would skip this next bit. But for me, I just want to give it a little bit more texture and a little bit more of a worn look. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to give this a dead flat finish. Now I've spoken about these before, but in case you've missed it, basically I use something like an acrylic flat varnish. This is an anti-yellowing one, it's water based. This is the extra acrylics one from Hannon's. It's neat from the bottle. Air pressure maxed out to as much as I can get out of this one, and I suppose I can wring out roughly about 35-37 psi out of this. Now I've given this a good shake about 10 minutes beforehand, and I've let it stand. The reason is that all the big lumps and the bits that hang around the top and everything drop to the bottom. Then I pour this very, very slowly, watching it come out. Now if I spot a lump coming out, then we'll switch it back. Now sometimes, if you're not too sure on your finish and all the rest of it, and your actual varnish, tip it into something else, then tip it into there. But I know that one quite well, because I use it a lot. It doesn't have time to really form big clumpy lumps. But anyway, there we go, that's full up. So what we'll do, we get the compressor on now, and we just turn the knob up to max. Yeah, and we're showing 40 psi, but obviously as a working pressure it drops a little bit anyway. Okay, then what we're going to do, cockpit's off and all the clear parts are out the way. We're just going to dust this with this one to knock it back and take some of the shine off of it. Now obviously it's a metallic finish, so we're stuck to a certain extent with what we've got here, but I don't know if you'll spot this on camera, but what it's doing, it's just knocking it down a little bit. Oops, a little bit quicker. Okay, and it's just going to give it a very rough, flat finish, which I'm hoping will be a balancing act between giving it a nice neutral finish and enough grip for the wash to stick on, to give it something to bite onto, if you know what I mean. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to flip this over, and we'll just do the underside. Now when you're spraying like this, you're looking for like big lumps that pop out. As soon as you see big lumps, the chances are they're coming off of your nozzle. You know, something like that. So just keep an eye on how you're spraying and how it's going on. So let me just get down here. See, all over this cockpit, because we've got the any parts we're worried about, so we'll just flip this around here. And then hopefully this will just give us a nice texture, as I'm saying, for the wash to grip to. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to dry off on this. So we'll just turn this around again. Just up the back end. Make sure we do those tails. Okay, now I don't know how well it's coming off, but you've still got the metallic sheen, but that's a dead flat finish. It'll be extremely rough to the touch. So okay, we're just going to put it down, in those areas we've just handled. Okay, we're all happy with that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to leave that for about half an hour to stand. We've got other bits we can get on with, doing the weapons bit. We just tip in the rest of it just back into there. Lid goes on. And then we're just going to slide right out of the way and just bring in the jellyfish cleaner, and we just give this a quick blast through to get this out, because we don't want this to settle in the airbrush because it's thick. It'll be a bit of a nightmare getting this out. So we'll just run around the edges, get most of that all out. Okay, tipping this everywhere. Okay, we'll tip that through. And we'll just clean that out. Okay, another little quick tip here. If you're going to be doing missiles, obviously the radome for the missile, normally a different colour. This day and age are usually white, okay? So what you can actually do is mask it up and then spray it, which is, you know, really the easy way to do it. A quick way of doing it though is literally take your bit of paint. So what we've got here is some Tamiya XF2, sorry. Okay, so what we do, we just poke it in and you can visually see where it goes to. Okay, just like that. Lift out and you've got it on there. Take it over to a paper towel. Let the excess all run off the nose. Okay, and then if you stand it with, obviously in this case it's going to be the weapons bay down, over to one side, just like that. That's the way to do it. So it's just a fast, quick way. Okay, and because you're going into neat paint like this and it's quite thick, the other way, go over to your colour cap, okay, tap it on there, and all the excess will just drain down. Take it over to a paper towel, just get any more off that might be lurking, okay, and then just stand him up out the way. One more to show you, one like that, over to the cap, you'll get loads off like that, just the excess on here. If you've got any bubbles on there, don't worry about them too much, they do tend to pop and go. Okay, last one here. Same thing, straight down, cap, paper towel, just like that, and away we go. Okay, so we're almost finished off here. What we've actually done, we've put, starting at the front, we've put the PTO indicators on the front there, just a little bit of super glue on those, and then obviously painted in silver. Up here on the HUD we've put in the actual latches for the top of the canopy to come down around the rail there. They're the actual resin ones that go on. Heads-up display is installed. There again, all that literally is a tiny bit of black around the outside, a little bit of clear green, and then gator glued into place. Ejector seat, we've just put a yellow and black pull handle on there, and that's now fitted in. The canopy itself, we've popped the canopy together. It's just a few resin bits, very, very straightforward. If you are using super glue, when you do it, touch it with super glue and keep blowing, and that way it'll stop it fogging up in there. But that goes in just like that. Basically, I haven't decided to go around and heavier with it anymore. With the dead flat coat, it gives a very nice finish, and I quite like it, to be honest. And I've got to that point, I think, where that's good enough for me. Now, I could have carried on and weathered it, and I was going to do these metallic plates and put bits on there, but in theory, I could go back at a later date and do that at any time, because they are going to be the most shiniest bit on top. The dead flat coat is extremely rough, as you can probably hear. So if you were going to put any wash on there, it would really grip and really, really darken and weather this one down. But as I say, I like it like this. The thing with it is extremely still shiny when you use it, see it in the light, but that's the metallic showing through. And as you say, you catch it in certain lights, it looks, but honestly, this thing is dead as a dead thing can be. But it's still showing through. The weapons fuel tanks on there, they're just a loose fit at the moment. Quite happy with how they are, and then that way, for going for shows and that, we can either display them on or off, just like that, to obviously so you can see the weapons bays a bit more. Which plug came back in. There we go, it's in there just like that. It's been a great kit to do, something a little bit different, and especially doing this metallic finish, and I really think it's probably the better way to do it. And then that way, with all this masking around the outside, you can do it in one, and it saves having to actually go around it perhaps and spray in all the other bits around. And as I was saying, if you wanted to do it as a more weathered look, then literally all I would use is a darker grey first, and then obviously, you know, around these areas to give it a more sort of, you know, dirty and weathered in look. If we just pop the canopy, which is quite a tricky fit to get in, there we go, we put that in and push the seat back into position. That sits in there. My only one gripe would be this canopy fit itself, because it's perfect onto each other, you do get a tiny glue mark right the way around that edge, and honestly, it's one of those things I've tried and I've played. It's very, very hard to get rid of it. What I would normally do is mask just a tiny bit up the plastic on the clear to do it, but I think you would lose that overall effect of it. So what I've done, I've decided to leave that just as it is. It's been a great kit to do. It's a sandwich form to go together, as we said, which is probably the best way, because then we get no nasty wing joints and everything else. But just make sure you make sure these areas for these the shoulders are pretty much sort of solid and filled. I've got a tiny bit of shrinkage on one side, which I might pop back and take care of. That's come back because obviously building the kit quite quickly. So I'm probably just going to take that back a little bit. It's been a fantastic kit to do. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and if you have, join me again next time.